You can now earn interest on gold sitting idle in either your bank locker or even at home. How? In a major move, the Union Cabinet has approved two major schemes first announced in the budget this year. These two schemes could well revolutionize the way gold is bought and sold in India. The first, a gold monetizing scheme, will allow you to earn money off the gold which is currently lying idle. The gold can now be deposited in banks, not in lockers but in banks, and this deposit will earn you interest just like a savings account or a fixed deposit. The interest rates yet to be decided. The other scheme replaces the gold you buy. When implemented, you could buy gold bonds. The denomination 5, 10, 50 or 100 grams. Just like physical coins or biscuits, the rate of interest will be decided later, but you will not be able to sell these bonds before 5 or 7 years period, ensuring that you do not become a victim of short-term market fluctuation. Joining me now on the broadcast is Vivek Law, editor, Business Television. Vivek, welcome on the broadcast. What does this gold bond actually mean? What are the advantages of this scheme?
Right. Gaurav, I think it's important to understand why these schemes are so important, right? So let's just look at some numbers. We currently have in our country 20,000 tons of gold, which is lying in lockers, under the bed, and that is valued at $1 trillion. 60 lakh crore. Now that's the amount of gold already here. In addition to this, we import about 1,000 tons of gold every year. Now, mind you, this is imported, which means what? We are paying in dollars and we are getting this gold. Apart from oil, gold imports are among the biggest chunk of India's imports, right? So it's important to understand this perspective before we go into whether the scheme will work or not. Another interesting statistic, 75% of this 1,000 tons that we import is actually jewelry. Now, will this scheme work? So, having explained why this scheme is so important for the government, because there is a two-pronged strategy here. One is, how do you make this $1 trillion worth of gold, which is already lying in your system, productive, right? It's right now not productive at all, as you mentioned.
It's just lying
right?
idle.
It's just lying there. At some point of time, you go out and you sell it and you make some money on it, right? If at all you do sell it. Otherwise, it just gets passed on
from one generation to the other.
Now, the question is, will this work? Now, there are two schemes, as you mentioned. One is the gold monetization scheme. Now, let's look at that. What does that mean? If I have jewelry with me, I will go to a bank. This jewelry will be melted into gold after first checking whether or not that gold is pure as per the BIS standards.
Okay.
The equivalent of whatever is the grams of gold which is there becomes my deposit. I earn an interest on it. There are certain tax breaks. The interest might be tax-free, the gains that I get. Now that's as far as the gold monetization scheme is concerned. The gold bond scheme is a simple proposition. If I'm looking at investing in gold, I don't want to own that gold. I don't want to see that beautiful jewelry. I am okay with just taking a call. I believe I must invest also in gold other than other asset classes. So I go and buy this bond.
Okay.
Right? And I get a certain rate of return from the government. RBI in this case, which will issue these bonds. As you mentioned, there is a lock-in of 5 years. These could be from 5 to 7 year kind of bonds. Now, the key question is, and as you alluded to that, we do not know what the interest rate is going to be, right? This is not the first time such a scheme has been attempted. It was done back in the late 90s as well. Because unless and until the rate of interest that you're going to earn is going to make sense for you vis-a-vis putting that money in an FD, why would you go and take this scheme?
Why is the government insisting on melting that gold jewelry? A lot of us have gold jewelry and not gold coins, right. Because you pass it on from one generation to the other.
Yes, great question. The reason is, you are saying we want to make this entire gold reserve productive. When you give your gold to the bank, what is the bank going to do with it? The bank is going to either use it for auctioning. The bank, as the government has said, they want to come out with their special gold coins with the chakra on it, the Ashoka chakra on it. Yeah. So it has to be converted to gold. A bank is not in the business of going out there and selling jewelry.
Right. A bank is not a pawn shop.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is going to have to be converted in gold. Yes, when you go out there and redeem your account after a year or two or whenever, you'll get that much of gold back.
Right.
And that's really the catch here, because as you mentioned, most people, at least in India, we are obsessed with jewelry, right?
Yeah.
Now, will therefore people go and take advantage of this scheme? Well, maybe, because if you are somebody who's only been holding coins or you're buying gold from a purely investment point of view, then, well, you may see merit in it, because right now you're just keeping it, you're hoping 5 years, 10 years later the value will go up and you'll encash. Now you can in the interim also get an interest from it. But the percentage of those, just to conclude, is a very small percentage.
Is the government only looking at individual gold owners' households, or is the government also looking at temples? Because temples in this country has a lot of gold.
Absolutely. Well, technically, as per the scheme, you could be an institution, you could be an individual, anyone can participate. So there is no bar on that. Okay. There's also been a big question mark, and in fact that could be one of the issues, because there have been a lot of people who are saying that a lot of the gold, this $1 trillion gold, is actually in the form of money that has not been disclosed, right?
Yeah.
Now the government says we are going to have the same stringent know your client requirements. Yeah. So there may be a lot of people who have not disclosed.
Yes.
They may not want to come and submit it here, because the minute you go to that bank, he's going to ask you for all your details.
Yes.
And you could then be actually scrutinized later on. So is it an important scheme? A very important scheme. Should you invest in it? Well, we'll only know once we know the interest rate.
Vivek Law, for the moment, many thanks for joining me here on the broadcast. Should you be investing in this scheme? Well, wait for the interest rates and then decide.